The anime Classroom of the Elite needs another season. My name is Shriz. Let's talk about it. The anime was one season long and we basically got blue balls. And I'll tell you why. If you don't know what that means, don't look it up. So obviously we're gonna go through some things that I loved about the show, kind of like a review. And then of course, why I think it should continue and we should get more seasons. First of all, I love the setting, obviously. Setting makes up 80% of the story, according to nobody. But it feels that way, so we'll go with it. A class of people or students that are all intellectually inclined, just so far above the rest of their peers, that they have their own school. Their intellectual capacity is so valued that based on their scores and standardized tests and whatnot, they're literally paid for what they do. It's basically paid to be a student. And by the way, no cheap amount. It's not cheap. They get paid quite a bit, obviously. It's based on how they do. But based on how they're paid, I would like to be a janitor at that school. However, even though all of them, including everybody in that school, is very smart and they're superior to most people in their own ways, there's still this type of class divide that you wouldn't expect among the most elite. And to a certain degree, even more so. Obviously compared to other school-based animes, where the president's just like this almighty powerful that just has his hands and can control the landscape of the school. Well, in this, everybody does that to an extent. Relatively, all students look down upon each other as they have a class system. Class D through A, or A through D. And as you might guess, based on how grades work, the D class is the low class, the A class is the high class. And an individual doesn't get moved up to class. You stay with your class the entire time you're at that school. It's just whether your entire class as a whole can overtake the class ahead of it. And this is regardless of the fact that they have a 100% acceptance rate going into colleges if you just pass that school at all. So you would assume they would all just be in it to get through. But no, not at all. They're constantly trying to overtake each other and the school coaches them on to do so. There was a point when they were literally on an island. Like, who can survive the most and take these landmarks? Anyways, I'm not going to get into the full details about that, but you get the point. Not only do the students want to do that, the school sets them up to do that. And as far as overtaking each other, while some students do the plain old studying, which also has some inconveniences such as pride. You're asking me to study? Do you think I'm dumb? That's basically how it is. While others might opt to sabotage somebody, Because all it takes is sabotaging one person and it brings down an entire grade. Such as setting people up for fights and having their own predetermined witness, while some just opt to cheat the system as a whole and just hand out bribes to the teacher. At the beginning of the show, the teacher was like, all these points or the money that they're paid for their time being at the school and their grades and such, they can use to pay for anything, and they have been known to pay for grades, or to heighten their grade for a significant amount. And that shows you the kill or be killed type of environment, and I really enjoyed it. I find it very interesting. It's just a different take on a school anime as a whole, where the stakes are even higher for money and reputation on the line, for every person involved. And to be quite frank, I'd like to see more of these settings. I really would. Moving on to the main character that I'm probably going to butcher the name of, Kyotika. It's pretty out of the norm for the anime to give us not a very good base level for what the character even is, like what he's about, his thought process, what kind of person he is, his background, the things that he likes, hobbies. And this anime did none of that at all. All we get the gist of is he doesn't have hobbies. He's not really interested in a lot of things, which fairly enough, he gets along with other characters quite well. And he talks to them like he actually has a conscience or something, but his face says otherwise. And the fact that he talks nothing of himself also says otherwise. Which in my opinion makes him really interesting, contrary to what I would have thought. If somebody said there's an anime where they don't tell you anything about the main character, he just kind of does his thing, he's not very emotional, he doesn't say a whole lot, no background, I probably would have been like, what kind of show is that? But it actually made it really good in my opinion. And I like that as well. Yeah, I take that back. There's a lot of shows where a side character steals the show. Anyways, let's move on. Now, obviously, we did get a glimpse into kind of what he was about and a little bit of his background, but nothing really concrete. There were scenes of him as a kid in the empty pale white classroom that kind of reminded me of a Pillsbury Doughboy's stomach. Not a whole lot going on, but it was very ominous in every single bit that we got to see. It did not look like a fun time. It did not even look like it had the boringness of the waiting room of a dentist. Somehow that being the widest room ever, at the same time had it being the darkest room ever. You got the vibes of almost like a human cage, a human testing area, which I mean quite literally they were being tested, but you know what I'm saying. And from these scenes we get an idea of his twisted personality we never really get to see. Throughout the main story, throughout every scene, more and more of the students continued to go. He wasn't the only one there. All the other kids just kind of disappeared and he seemed very nonchalant about it, as though they don't even exist. His only goal seemed to be to outlast them, and that added up to one final scene of that classroom. While having this self-dialogue about how humans are tools, nothing more, and he really doesn't care about their feelings or relationships. they had a scene of him standing over another student that was on the ground and seemed to either be dead or just passed out from all the work that they were doing. The final student he had to overtake to be the final one in that classroom, because apparently it's not good enough to get to the top 3. You have to get to the final one, and he was the final one. And probably going through things that most kids shouldn't go through. And this final flashback scene was happening while he was talking to Suzune, the character he interacts with the most, and in her own right kind of has this strange stay away from people type of thing as well. But she was finally opening up to him, and then we get to see a little bit of opening up from him too. But internally, she didn't get to see any of this. And that was quite literally the final couple minutes of the last episode that we got to see. So with that ending, we got to catch a glimpse into his selfish personality that nobody in the story's gotten to see, and even us until that point. While another character started conveying as though she liked him. That's what it seemed. The main girl character of the story seemed to be opening up in a different way that she normally doesn't, as she's usually standoffish and very straightforward, straight edge, get shit done, not worried about the rest, not worried about anyone around her. And at this point thinks that the main character is a great guy and is trying to help her get to the top class out of just pure selflessness. But in reality, he's just being the puppet of a teacher having to do her biddings at the moment, because she knows the things about him that nobody else knows, and he refuses to talk about. Okay, so in conclusion, with all this in mind, above all, I want another season because I want to see more character development as well as the character relationship development, with us knowing his thought process on things and why he makes decisions that we otherwise would not understand. I mean, who knows, obviously, besides manga readers, by the way, shout out to manga readers, but who knows whether he's a character that people band together to try to get rid of at the academy in the future, or whether he starts opening up from all this humor interaction and starts to become a better person and developing his personality to something other than a robot that feels like he just likes to troll. Because as we recall at the beginning of the show, he was accused of purposely getting a 50 on the test to barely get into the academy because he didn't want to do any more than he had to. But nonetheless, me and thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands, maybe over 1 million people want to know where this show will go and would like a second season. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and it had quite the cliffhanger at the end. And not too many shows make me thirst for more than that show did, as unexpected as it was. Let me know what you think down below. What are your thoughts on the anime? Let me know if you haven't watched it, but you're going to, you know, whatever. Or in general, just comment any of your thoughts. Drop a like if you enjoyed the video or you agree. Subscribe for more content if you would like. And of course, post notifications bring you the videos as they come out. It's been your boy Shriz, and I hope to see you in the next one.